It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Vivian Roknian, known as Doc Rock. My gosh, she is a Beverly Hills-based dentist known for her expertise in dental implants, laser surgery, full arch dentistry. At her private practice, she delivers same-day smile transformations using in-house 3D printing and PerioLase MVP-7, her go-to for LANAP and LAPIP for advanced regenerative care. A respected educator, Dr. Rock has trained more than 2,000 dentists in implantology, laser protocols, surgical efficiency. She lectures nationally for major dental organizations and advises emerging tech companies like Flaus, helping shape the future of oral health innovation. I love how they spell that Flaus when it's a flossing device. That is so cool. I mean, I never even saw that come in floss. Beyond the operatory, her work with the Innocence Project allows her to restore not just smiles but dignity, providing implant and prosthetic care to those wrongfully incarcerated. A fellow of the International College of Dentists and honored awarded to fewer than 3% of U.S. dentists. We both share that. Dr. Rock is widely recognized for her clinical leadership, business acumen, and deep commitment to advance ethical, patient-centered dentistry. But throw all that resume away because the only thing that matters is she's got a brand new baby. Congratulations. It's 1 year old.
Thank you.
My gosh, and don't ever, whenever you're tempted to throw it away, don't, because my 8 grandkids are twice as good as the 4 kids. So just remember.
What a blessing you have. That's amazing. But I'll tell you, mine has been a 12-year construction project. So if ever there's been anyone who's been really wanted and totally designer, it's him.
Well, I got to tell you that I've got a long journey with this. You know, I'm an old dog, but man, my God, my buddy Alan Honigman, he did a continuing education course on Dental Town in 2015. Were you even born in 2015? And my God. And then Robert Gregg, he did another one in 2012. And I'm hoping, my whole goal for today is that you'll come back at 2025 and make a new updated course. But what I wanted to tell you about this journey is that, my gosh, when it started, it was so controversial. And Alan Honigman, he saw it first, and he wanted it and he believed in it, and my gosh, he fought so much. But anyway, so when it started, it was all new. It was beyond controversial, and Alan was right, man. He stuck with it for 10 years, and I remember when the second periodontist started back here. I'm out here in Phoenix. He was in Chandler, and then finally another one, and then another one. Now they're all on board. So Alan Honigman was way ahead of his time.
Such a great guy, too. Both him and Dr. Bob Gregg are just incredible people. So you had amazing guests, and I hope maybe I can be even a fraction of as wonderful as them.
You will be. So where did your interest in PerioLase come from? Where did that start?
No, I love that question because I sort of fell into it by accident. My dad reached out to me and said, hey, this is a very interesting piece of technology. You should consider it. And at that time, 2010-ish, I had a ton of friends who were periodontists. I said, well, what do you think of it? And they said, nope, gimmick. Now, as time has gone by, I was gifted a laser, like a little bitty diode. And I thought, well, there's actually some merit to it. But really, what changed the whole game for me was COVID. And at that time, I felt like the only dentist on an island, and it was just nonstop patients everywhere. And I ended up with a pretty sizable overuse injury. And I had to come up with something that just was going to help me continue working and not be forced to retire, be something that I knew for sure that I can offer a great service to my patients, and maybe give me a new perspective on dentistry. And so I got into this, and not only did it just change the whole way that I treatment plan, but it actually changed my life. I went from being all about just the scalpel and suturing to now feeling like that's so dial-up in a fiber optic world. I mean, it made so much more sense. And the way that my patients heal up, and knowing for sure that I'm providing a real service and a real second chance to both dentition that one may think is totally terminal, or implants that don't look like they're going to make it. It's been a godsend in that sense.
Well, just for the kids, because a lot of dental. This is really a big show in dental school and dental students and under 30 crowd. And if they don't know the difference between LANAP and LANIP, that's LANAP is laser assisted new attachment procedure, and LAPIP is laser assisted peri-implantinus procedure. So one's LANAP is periodontal regeneration around the teeth. LAPIP is peri-implantinus treatment around implants. It's the same laser, just different target. And so you like the PerioLase. You couldn't find like a $1,600 diode that could do it cheaper? Please tell me you're coming on the show that you found a Chinese-made diode laser, $9.99 on Alibaba, $6.89 on Amazon, and but you really like this big dog, the PerioLase MVP-7.
I'll tell you. First of all, when I first bought it, it was the most expensive thing I ever bought myself outside of real estate, and I was just flabbergasted with myself on the purchase. However, it's paid. It's not only paid back in spades. It started out as a very selfish purchase, and it ended up. I mean, this thing is so versatile. It's used all day, every day with all of my patients to a large degree, and like in the office, we say it's kind of like Beyonce. It's versatile, it's a powerhouse, and it's booked up day and night all year round. So it's just changed the dynamic of my practice and also dentistry, the way that I look at it altogether. And so my diode could not do that. My $3,000 laser could not do that. And my $8,000 laser couldn't do that either. It's this one follows me through the day.
So, it seems like when they come out of dental, I can't believe on Dental Town, we always, I still get all these complaints. Someone will post a picture and it's too bloody and they say they should have posted not safe for work. I'm like, dude, you're a dentist. You're a doctor of dental surgery, a DMD. I mean, it blows my mind. We got 2 yesterday. And I just want to reach in there. And one's an endodontist because, he puts a rubber dam around anything. So all he sees is this blue little carpet with a little white tooth sticking out. And he sees a drop of blood. And he's complaining to the moderators. Just like, wow. And I just look at you. There's that division. You either go like me, blood and guts. You love extraction. I mean, I shouldn't be saying this on deal, but 4 wisdom teeth, I don't care what they look like. They only had a minute survival chance per tooth. And my assistant jammed 30 years. I used to love it when we get temporaries and they come from oral surgery's office. She says, God dang, you pulled all 4 of those in 5 minutes. My oral surgeon would have taken the full hour. I love blood and guts. Well, the other half, they love soft and pretty, bleaching, bonding veneers. I just look at, you're a beauty queen in Beverly Hills. I just would have guessed you would have gone Invisalign veneers, cosmetics, all this stuff. How did you end up going down blood and guts road and seeking implants with gum disease?
I'm a total cutter.
The Doc Rock cutter.
Even before when I was first gifted my first laser, I said, "Are you kidding me?" And not cut. That sounds so depressing. Then what's the point of getting out of bed? But from a different perspective, we were affected during the fires in January. And I had to find a way to sort of distract myself from everything that was on the news and the fact that my patients were losing their houses and their businesses. And we were all living in a hotel at the time. And so I did the math on how many teeth I extracted before I got this laser. Howard, wild guess. I'm not that big. I'm a little person. I'm 5 feet tall. I'm a whopping 110 pounds.
How many teeth did you pull?
Yeah.
1,000.
Almost 70,000.
Holy moly.
Since I got my laser.
In Beverly Hills?
Well, I've lived in different parts of the country.
Oh, okay. Your career, 70,000.
Yeah, throughout my career. And so, but since getting my laser. I mean, I really think to myself, I can't believe not only is there some huge mountain of teeth that's all my fault, but how many people were affected in a way that's irreversible to some degree, and how many of those could have all been saved from had I have had this laser earlier? How many lives wouldn't have had to change as much as they did? And so for me, that was a real, gosh, I really wish I would have done this earlier in my career. And who knows, maybe I wouldn't, maybe I wouldn't have this kind of overwork injury. And B, maybe I can't believe it took this long after all these teeth to get this injury.
Well, I guess I was realizing getting ready for your podcast today that I think I have PTSD on LANAP, because going back to Alan Hogman way back in the day, the early adopters, they were just tortured by periodontists, and they were crazy and blah, and it was a decade, one by one. So it's like, I got to get this out of my head, because I keep wanting to ask you questions like, well, I got all these PubMed articles in front of me about, there's even a Wikipedia page on this stuff. It's completely, gosh, what is the best, but anyway, it's really weird thinking about this, because I spent the first 10 years with Alan defending it. And my gosh, and now I see it, and I went through it with the internet. I remember when I was lecturing in 98, 99, when I started Dental Town, people would say to me like, are you getting some of this information off the internet? And I'm like, oh, well, what do you want me to do? Go to the library and get a book printed in 1950? Yeah. Would you prefer I come here with magazines? I mean, yeah. And then when I started Dental Town in 99, every lecture, there'd only be 1 or 2 people per 100 that had the internet, and it was for their kids' homework. And now, see the same thing with AI. You post something like, was that AI generated? It's like, dude, they wrote a post, they put it in, Perplexia and put polish up, and and you're losing your mind. But you have all these typos. Are you drinking? I mean, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and your posts look like you're drunk, and you use AI to polish it. And even on LinkedIn, you make a post on LinkedIn, it says rewrite with AI, and all it does is clean it all up. But everybody on LinkedIn doesn't say, hey, did you push the rewrite with AI? But I mean, so humans are just, they're crazy animals. I mean, so are kangaroos, so are koala bears, but humans, they're crazy primates. And so I guess I just got to get on my head that would you say, with all the periodontists that that this is just LANAP and LAPIP are just standard operating accepted procedure, or is it still controversial in some circles?
2015, the AAP even said they acknowledge that this is a minimally invasive course of therapy, which that in and of itself, like, wow, they actually wrote something like that, is for them impressive. But beyond that, numbers wise, I believe at last count, almost about 50% of periodontists have adopted it.
50%.
Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta tell the young kids was something about this that we notice all the time is like, when dental X-rays came out, when radiology came out, it just was a domino across the country. Everybody got X-rays. There are many, many technologies that everybody adopted, but take CAD-CAM. CAD-CAM, the prices come down. Less than 15% of all the dentists ever just in the United States and Canada have ever bought a CAD-CAM. So it did not take off. I remember when I was in dental school, they were telling us that dental laboratories will be gone. They're all going to be replaced by this CAD-CAM project out of France. France had socialized dentistry and medicine, and they were tired of all these lab bills, and they were going to get rid of all the lab men. And you always see that stuff. Like right now, AI, everybody's going to lose their job from AI, when the internet came out, I remember, it's always the same thing. I remember when the King of England, when they came out with the textiles, the people were ready to overthrow the government and told the government they had to throw all the textile machines in the ocean because none of them would have jobs. Now go to London. Did anybody survive the textile machine? And the funniest one was in India when they got my hero, Milton Friedman, who I read his book, Free to Choose, in 1980, and it changed my entire world. And Caterpillar, India had canceled all their orders from Caterpillar because the new prime minister said, look, I got 1,300,000,000 people. I don't need to buy big machines. I need to produce jobs. So Caterpillar didn't know how to get through this guy, so they sent Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman walked out, and they were walking down, they were seeing all this construction workers and these big caterpillars, and he was explaining himself, and he goes, you're right. He goes, you're right. But let's not give them shovels. Let's take away their caterpillars and their shovels. Let's give them spoons. And that finally hit the prime minister. And then he's like, do you ever want this road built, or do you just want a bunch of people with spoons digging all day to provide jobs? It's called productivity. So it's humans are slow to adopt. Most of this stuff's over generations, but I think it took a full generation. And I bet when the AAP did endorse it as a minimally invasive product, I bet at least half the periodontists thought it was a conspiracy, that they took money from LANAP, and there needs to be an investigation. It's very hard to see something for the first time, and it took a lot. And now you say half bought it. That's amazing. I mean, if you get over the 15%, and it's same with lasers. Most of the early lasers never got more than 10% penetration. So if half the periodontists recommend this and behind it, that's wow. It'll go all the way to 90.
Enough. It's a function of time.
Right. So why PerioLase MVP-7? What's MVP-7? What does that stand for?
In my office, it's the most valuable player.
So is it the MVP, most valuable player?
That's what we call it in the office. Okay. However, I believe, and I don't quote me on this, but I believe it's because it has 7 different diode types, not diode settings, but it has 7 specific kinds of settings that it can go through.
I never even saw. Was it a play on most valuable player though? Was that marketing 101?
Oh, that's just, I was trying to remember for my own office.
Well, I'm going with that. That's what I would say it was. Are you doing more LANAP or LAPIP?
No, I'm doing a lot of LANAP from the perspective of patients who want a second opinion after being quoted for all on X and not being able to afford it. A lot of my LAPIP that I'm doing is just because I've been on the road lecturing on implants, and usually people will then send me something that's failing and say, could you please just fix it and let me know how it goes. So I'd say probably about 50-50 at this point. I love doing the LANAP. It's so much easier than anything else I could have possibly ever imagined, just productivity wise, and it just doesn't beat you up like other bigger ticket procedures. It's incredible.
Well, I think all on 4. I mean, of all the DSO's activity, I mean the fact that my gosh, Clear Choice. I mean, talk about like I've noticed in the last 10 years that when an orthodontist opens up, say after a couple of years they have X, and say a pediatric dentist opens up and after a year they have X. But if a pediatric dentist and an orthodontist open up together in 1 year, they have 3X. It's 1 + 1 = 3. Because I remember when I was a little kid and I went to visit my grandma's in Parsons, Kansas, they didn't have a grocery store with everything under one roof. We went to a butcher, we went to a bread guy, we went to the butcher was Mark, the bread, the vegetables, the canned goods, and eventually they put all that stuff under one roof. And every time you go to a pediatric dentist, if the mom has got enough on the ball to take you to a pediatric specialist as opposed to a general dentist, of course she's going to say, is little Muffy going to need braces one day? And instead of giving them a referral slip where she's got to miss work, another appointment, another chart, all that crap, she just says, oh, well, let's have Amy come in. She's an orthodontist. We work together, and you put it all in one roof. But when Clear Choice put the oral surgeon plus the prosthodontist plus the laboratory technician, 1 + 1 + 1, that equaled 5. And Clear Choice, it was sold twice. It's now owned by Aspen. I mean, that is a business model that is undeniable, all on one. I mean, it's talk about American. I mean, you know, most people would say, well, maybe we should do this over 3 or 4 appointments. I'm sure all the Japanese people and the Koreans would say, well, come on, settle down. Let's do this, you know, properly. But as an American, I mean, my God, they pull up to McDonald's, and if there's 2 cars in front of them, they start cussing. Now they got the double drive-through. But that instant satisfaction all under one roof, that's got to be a totally American adventure. So you do second opinions for people who don't want to do all on 4s, and then you pull out your LAPIP and your LANAP, and you start saving teeth.
Yeah, and the way it's explained typically is, no matter how talented I am or any other dentist on the face of the earth, none of us are as talented as our creator. So whatever it is that we're going to make for you, it's never going to be that good. So let's keep what our creator made first. If that's for sure gone and that's a different story. But at least let's give it a shot. Isn't that also part of the American way?
Yeah, I used to love it when I was doing anterior crowns, and that's why I love doing all that cosmetic dentistry and LVI and learning all that stuff. And my gosh, a girl break an anterior tooth, usually like playing softball with co-ed. Some guy hits a line drive, knocks your tooth, and she'd say, you know, will you be able to tell? You know, will it look perfect? I said, well, God made this one, and a short, fat, bald guy named me is going to make the other one. So, no, it's not going to look perfect. But then you would do it just perfect with everything LVI taught you, all the thing Ivoclar, just everything. And then, but satisfaction equals expectations. Is perceptions minus expectations. And the way to increase the satisfaction, you always lower their expectations. You know, I'll say it's going to match. Well, hell no, it's not going to. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. So you just get them like, oh my God, I'm going to have that Frankenstein tooth that looks like hair plugs. Oh my God. And then you hand them the mirror, and it's damn near bullseye, and they just go crazy. You know what I mean? Same thing with post-operative pain. After a root canal, they say, you know, am I going to have any pain afterwards? And I said, well, hopefully you have either a bottle of scotch or a gun, because you're going to want to either shoot yourself or guzzle the whole bottle. I mean, you just had a root canal. You didn't have a mani-pedi massage.
It was not a spa treatment. Sorry.
And you lower all their expectations, and then they call back the next day. They call out, tell Dr. Fran that it doesn't even hurt. I mean, I've taken like 1 ibuprofen. And it's like, you know, just always lower their expectation. And it's the young dentist who says, oh, yeah, it'll look great. Oh, yeah, it'll look perfect. Yeah, you won't feel a thing during a root canal. Are you out of your mind? I mean, psychology 101, lower their expectations.
Absolutely. Without question.
Yeah.
But, you know, what's been really great with this laser actually is that the post-op discomfort just drops off completely in comparison to doing it the old-fashioned way of using a scalpel and suturing patients back together again. And so, for example, last month I had an attorney who I worked on. And oh, by the way, the guy's got 4 brothers, and all 4 of them are periodontists. No pressure or anything.
And why did he go to you? Why didn't he go to blood?
He didn't want anybody to notice. And he didn't want to have this topic anymore within the family get-togethers. And he said, look, I've gone through it with my brothers. It hurts like crazy. I don't want to go. I know it's going to hurt. I know they're not going to really care about my discomfort. I just want it done, and I want it done in a way that's not going to be obvious. All right. So, I mean, he wanted to be put to sleep, and he took a couple days off. And he's like, I know what my brothers did to me, and it was awful. And there was a piece of me that wanted to say, you know, do you really have a good relationship with your brothers?
Maybe they hate you. He is a lawyer. He is a lawyer. There might be something there, right?
But that being said, you know, I always call the evening of, and then I always call around lunchtime the next day. And he said, you know, I'm so glad you insisted that I don't be put to sleep for this, because had I have been asleep, I never would have believed that anything actually happened. I'm absolutely fine, and I feel ridiculous for taking time off work. So I told him, look, it sounds like golf is on you.
Rock. You won't even believe there's another story behind that, because before that, when I got out in 87, the deal was electrosurge. You'd have all these pockets. They'd put a loop electrosurge. Talk about, I mean, they would come in a week later, 2 weeks later, Still crying a week later, and go to Dental Town and do a search for electrosurge and read because that thing's been up since 1999. I mean, there's posts in 2001 saying, "Holy crap!" and all these people are saying, "No, dude, you can't use the electrosurge." But it was so cheap; it was like a $300 box that would just whop off anything that you looped it through. I mean, it was a powerful cutter.
God,
It was my favorite toy in dental school. Are you kidding me?
Seriously, so you had one?
Oh, absolutely. It was great. It would get all the blood out of the way. I can get my impressions taken care of. None of this nonsense whenever there's a root tip to dig out.
Wow, I didn't even know they were still selling those things. I thought that thing was died and they sent it to hell.
I mean, I'm not going to fit. This thing was like, from what I recall, it seemed like it was avocado green with like a little bit of wood paneling. I mean, it has been around clearly, at least since before Reagan was president.
Yeah, and speaking of, you said president, not to get into politics, but weren't you running for an office in Santa Monica? Or
You're right. Yes, I was. I ran for Santa Monica City Council.
And how'd that go?
For somebody who just woke up one morning and said, I'm just going to try it out and see if I can fix my city. I think I got like 20,000 votes.
Nice. Did that did that help your practice? Was that good marketing for your practice?
It actually helped out with backlinks. It helped me like authentic Google do that like algorithm thing, and it surged me up quite a bit that way. And it was great. It was a great way of just going out and meeting the community and introducing myself and things of that sort. But it was a pretty close call. I'd say that since election week, the first 2 months, I got a phone call at least one a day saying, "Could you please run again?" Now it's kind of tapered off a bit, which is kind of nice to talk about different kinds of things. But it's, anything that we can do to help our community. At the end of the day, all of us as dentists go into this to help our community. I mean, it's truly a service-oriented business or journey of life. And so this was just less saliva and blood all over my forehead and more, I guess.
Well, I'm sorry. Now you got the riots again. I mean, it's I've been watching that all weekend. The riots out there. I mean, America. It's like my gosh, I've seen so many better days in America, but I've seen worse days. I remember during the Vietnam deal. I remember when I was like 10, and the mobs came down our street and they were flipping over all the cars on our street. Oh, wow. And because they were so mad about Vietnam. And it's like you understood, but but our neighbors didn't want to have their cars flipped upside down. but humans are crazy. But it's always kind of two steps forward, one step back. And the one thing I noticed, the gift that I couldn't believe. I got asked to lecture in my dental school, and then that turned into lecturing 1,000 times and lecturing in 50 countries. And and I always took my boys with me, and you'll love that. I know you're lecturing a lot, but I always took them on the trips. Each one of my boys knows how many countries he's been to. Like one will say, "I was at 28," and one's like, "I was at 32." But you notice that those borders are invisible. The whole beehive was humming the same tune, and it would switch to the right, it'd switch to the left, it'd switch to violent, it'd switch to peace, but the whole hive is in harmony, and you just don't realize it until you just see it, until you step down. And then I was always picked up at the airport, not by a tourist guide, but by dentists. And I always told them I don't want to stay in a hotel. I want to know what it's like to wake up in a Polish house. I'll never forget waking up, marching to Lucky's house, and I was the first one up, and I went and opened the refrigerator, and I was like shocked. I mean, I just wasn't expecting. I mean, all the sausages and tomatoes. I mean, it didn't look like your refrigerator. It looked like but anyway, it was just amazing, and all these different cultures. But whenever it gets way, way bad, you just give it a little time, and then the pendulum swings the other side, and it gets way, and hopefully over time, it just oscillates more to the middle. But primates are tough. I mean, our first cousin, the chimpanzees, when they fight, they tear off each other's arms and eat them.
So at least we're not throwing feces at each other.
Yeah. So we're better than the chimpanzees, but not as good as the panda bears. But so back to LANAP and LAPIP. So I want to talk real. How much? On a balance sheet, you'd want to know, well, how much is the machine? And it doesn't matter if it's $1, $10, $100, because in a business, it's cash flow. But if they bought a machine and it was $1 payment a month, do you really think they would do $1 worth of services to cash flow that machine? Or are they going to get upside down and then try to sell it used on Dental Town classified ads? I mean, is it a money maker? I mean, like, because if you buy a Ceph or a pano machine, I mean, you know how many panos you take a month, you know how many Cephs. I mean, some things mathematically make money, but is there a return on investment on this?
I hate to say it like this, but the reality is it's like having an ATM in your office. It's incredible what it can do. I mean, like, for example, the herpetic lesions of just zapping those away quickly, decontamination, fantastic with bone grafting, laser bacteria removal, the lichen planus, hemangiomas. I mean, I've got a whole entire building next door to my building that I work in, and it's all just dermatologists and plastic surgeons. Guess who's dealing with more of those little hemangiomas? Me, with my laser. It's such a quick little zip of a nothing. And, I did a TikTok, I want to say like 2 years ago, on just zapping the herpetic lesions. And if one turned to like 2 and then 3 posts, and these things end up going viral. I'd say probably about once a week get some sort of message from somebody somewhere in America with, where can I go to get this done? This is fantastic. Same with the gum depigmentation. I mean, I posted that within 3 weeks. I had 65,000 views organically. I mean, it's people just come out of the woodwork for this stuff, particularly knowing that it's not going to be particularly painful. And I mean, people tend to also think that my being in Beverly Hills, cash comes in through the windows, pours out each faucet in each operatory. That's not the case. The reality is, in my area, there are about 35,000 residents. There are 3,600 dentists. So about almost 10% is all dentists. So you have to be niche in some way or another. And
then there's another problem. I was in Phoenix.
And 1 mile from my house was the equestrian center up in the mountain where all the Richie Rich lives. That's where I lived. And then across the other way was Guadalupe, 15,000 Indian reservation with about 15,000 undocumented people, blah, blah, blah. So 40 years there. Guess who paid 100% of all their bills in cash and I never had a problem with ever?
The workers.
The workers. Guess who stiffed every bill, tried to make deal? I mean, it got to the point where if you pulled up in a Mercedes, you were going to pay in advance. I said, look, if you go half down, half the seat, you're going to look at that and say, oh, well, this much the seat. Well, I could send 10% of that to my attorney to write him a letter that if I don't like it, I'll go to the state board and you'll fold. I remember walking in, I probably shouldn't say this, might be harassment, but the native New Yorker to find the owner. Like, are you kidding me? You love these. Are you kidding me? You've got more money. You live 3 doors down from me. You got 3 cars over. And that's why rich people are rich, because they don't pay their bills. You've heard how the president brags about stiffing all of his contractors during all of his building. Yeah. Rich people don't part with their money. That's why they're rich. The poor people go back to work because they work. And I tell you what, if I had to do it all over again, I would have sat up in Guadalupe and not allowed anyone in from the equestrian center, North Scottsdale, Paradise Valley. They're all like that. They're like, well, we're rich because we don't pay any of our bills. We don't pay our taxes. Yeah. We stiff everybody. And my cousin's an attorney, and he'll write you a letter, and you'll go away. And so my homies are listening to that saying, okay, I love it when people talk about their overhead, and I always say, what is your highest overhead? And they always say labor. And then they say lab, and then they say supplies. And I'm like, really? It's not the 40% fee reduction by signing up for Delta and Blue Cross and Blue Shield. 40% of your
is fee reduction.
High five you from here.
And
Absolutely.
then they don't want
to. And then when you say, well, the biggest million. Whenever I find a practice doing 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, they're always paying 5, 6, 7% on marketing. And all the DSO dentists or all the PPO dentists say, I can't do that. I'm only spending 1%. Yeah, but you say, hey, you want to spend 7% on advertising? No. You want to reduce all your fees by 40%? Hell yeah. Don't even show me the fee. If you're going to reduce them 40%, tell me where to sign. So that's my next question to you is, what if they're on a PPO practice? I mean, these things you're billing out, all these things that you listed, hemangiomas and aphthous ulcers. Is there any DSO? Does Delta cover any of those fees? Because I think it's 98% of all the dentists in America are working with Delta some way or another. So it's the mother goose. Is Delta paying any of these fees? And as a follow-up, what percent of your collections do you spend on advertising?
Tell you that I am completely, totally out of network with everybody, and I've had the luxury of being that way my entire career. I would rather work a bit harder and have stronger, loyal relationships with my patients than insist on having to work through that kind of volume. And so with my office, we will file the paperwork. Whatever it is that they pay over to you, and that's that. With that, I know that my patients want to come because they know that they're still getting a good deal. And I might, how much I spend on marketing? Gosh, I would say about a little bit more, probably about 15%.
Oh my gosh, that's double the kingpins. I don't, I mean, an orthodontist, though, they always say to me, look, one Invisalign case, $6,000. And how could I not spend 6-7% of my collections on, but you're at 15%. Unbelievable. You are a kingpin.
I mean, look, our cost per patient acquisition gets to be pretty pricey when you're going towards marketing in general. Really, the best kind of way of just getting patients is really word of mouth referrals and relationships. And so when I know that I just need to go a little bit more of the extra mile to provide a bit more of a service or give something to talk about, it's a no-brainer. I mean, social media, providing just plain information to folks, I would say at least 30% of my practice flies out to see me. And they've got to fly over a lot of other dentists to do that.
I had a lot of people that flew over 1,000 miles to see me, but they all had the last name Ferran. And they were getting it for free, and I was buying the plane tickets.
Oh, wow.
That's the only ones that
flew to see me were families for free. So I want to jump to a totally different subject. Socrates said that the two emotions were greed and fear. And my God, do dentists fear the board? They fear the attorney. They live in fear, and it's just part of the yin yang. I mean, you can't overdo it. But you say the laser is a risk reduction tool, and you say skipping peri-implantitis treatment procedure is a malpractice time bomb. And what you teach, you're referring also about hygiene, laser maintenance, and documentation. So they live on fear. So just give them an ulcer right now. What are you talking about?
I mean, we were talking about, for example, all-on-X offices or implant-heavy offices. And the reality of the matter is, unfortunately, dentists tend to keep pushing the narrative that these implants are going to last the rest of your life. And patients tend to hear that as, not only is it going to last the rest of my life, it's not going to get cavities either, which means I don't have to brush it. So when you have that kind of dialogue happening, and then these people tend to go and vanish, those maintenance procedures then don't end up happening until it's far gone and far too late. And now we're starting to see that both insurance companies and law firms or attorneys and boards are understanding that really the life cycle is looking more at about like 10, 15 years for implants, if you're taking care of it or whatever else. Now, I think we all like to believe that we have a much higher success rate, but let's just talk some statistics here. So that being said, when offices tend to get in a lot of trouble, it happens because that maintenance, that follow-up of these implants just isn't happening. And with my paperwork, I tell my patients, look, no matter what, I want to see you. Even if you're going to go to whoever dentist you possibly want, totally fine. Tell them I said hello. I'll send a postcard too. I still want to see you every year. I still want to see how my work is behaving in your mouth. And so with that, that maintenance then comes in of, I'm going to use my laser, I'm going to decontaminate it, I'm going to make sure that it's going to have every opportunity possible to be successful for a long time. When these all-on-X cases then fall apart, it's typically because there isn't any sort of maintenance program. And do you know what's a whole lot more expensive than one of these lasers? A lawsuit. So you have something that you know is going to work, something that you know is FDA approved, that is going to take care of this issue that can be a ticking time bomb. And the reality is, when it comes to peri-implantitis, we have yet to figure out a true protocol for everyone to do that's going to work 100% of the time. We don't have that. Some people throw antibiotics at it, others throw a little slurry of amoxicillin and whatever else they can think of, and some citric acid. Everybody has their own special ingredients. I know for sure my laser is going to work. I know for sure I'm going to go in and it's going to take me all of 5 minutes. And with that, it's a no-brainer.
Well, one of the things I want to, I retired. I sold my practice. When I turned 60, I sold my practice, Today's Dental, and I retired, and it took me about a year to completely get so damn bored I lost my mind. But it was fun. I went and lived with mom for a couple of months, and I got 4 grandkids in Texas, went out and lived with them for a couple of months, did all the rounds. But the reason I came back is because every email and private message and Dental Town, all the kids, all the young ones are saying, I saw the division on. They say, you're old. You graduated in the good old days. It was so easy for you. We got $500,000 student loans. We got DSO, blah, 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 blah. And they're not happy. And they're the ones that drove me back. And I wanted to, show these kids and fight for these kids that, the dentistry is not going anywhere. I mean, there's 1.6 million dentists. Every single human goes to the dentist in their lifetime. I don't care if it's a medicine man in the Amazon rain jungle. When you need a tooth pulled, there's someone in your village. I've seen them all over. I've been to 50 countries where they got fishing tackle boxes and they got all their stuff. I've seen them making teeth. I've seen them setting teeth to make dentures on sidewalks in India. I mean, it's a beautiful profession. It's not going away. But let me tell you, I always like to keep it real. And what I love about the all-on-4 Clear Choice is that how America is, that you could pull up to McDonald's, have all your teeth pulled, and drive out with perfect teeth. I mean, that is so American. But as a dentist, any person, the number one predictor of future behavior is past behavior. They got a bombed out mouth. It's still your cousin Billy. It's still Billy. And when you do that all-on-4, they come into my office, they got an entire ham sandwich stuck underneath that deal. And I always tell them that, you need to be able to pop that off and rinse it and brush it and all. And it's so much crap. And then what's worse is when they sell you anything at Walmart that costs more than, $50, they offer you a warranty. Would you like to buy an extended warranty? And they're making revenue selling warranties. And then they'll do a crown or a root canal when satisfaction equals perception minus expectation. And they don't sit there and say, you know what, this crown, it should last you 5, maybe 10 years. If you floss it every day, your car will last 5 to 10 years, but you got to get oil changes. If you come in here every 3 to 6 months, get your teeth clean, and you maintenance it good and you do well, it may last 5 to 10 years, but they actually say things like, "Oh yeah, you'll take this tooth to heaven. It'll last a lifetime." On Billy, Look at Billy. He's got 3 inches of his butt crack hanging out, and you just told him this implant is permanent? Are you out of your mind? So you always want to lower expectations. And there's money to be made in selling warranties. I'm seeing a lot of people now that are doing self-warranties say, by the way, if you want the extended warranty, it's this much, and they're just doing it themselves. And people are saying, my God, I paid $30,000 for this treatment. Yeah, I'll pay $1,500 a year to insure it or this and that. Now there's also companies that are doing dental warranties, but yeah, you got to set the expectations. And this Flaus rechargeable sonic vibration electric flosser. I know all the humans want to believe that they can just use a mouthwash. They don't want to believe that they ever have to use floss. I think it's funny that when kids are born and they have natural spacing, they're going to have air all the way around the teeth. They'll never have an interproximal lesion. So what do? We send them to the orthodontist, give the orthodontist $6,000 and say, yeah, we need to close all those open spaces because there's oxygen there. Could you make them all anaerobic? Because Billy likes Dr. Pepper. And if you could close all those teeth, we think we could grow maybe 12, 15 interproximal lesions. And by the way, as far as the heyday of dentistry, as they remove all this fluoride out of the water, I don't care that they're primates. You know, they once they believe something, like my 2 oldest sisters are nuns. What could I say to them to make them become Hindus? There's nothing. There's nothing. And once they believe that fluoride, you know, and I listed all their arguments, and you know, I mean, it's the 13th most common element of the planet. It shows up naturally. Whatever the hell naturally means. Is naturally like an STD? Is it like AIDS? Is it like a black hole sucking in an entire solar system, killing everything? I still don't know what natural means, but apparently it's a really good deal. But it shows up in the ocean at 1.4 part per million. And when we put it in drinking water that's 0.3 or under, and we bump it up to 0.7, it basically cuts dental decay in half. And then they can't read a study. They don't know what a p-value is. And I've been to these countries where a lot of these countries burn coal in open pits without furnaces. They're actually breathing fluorine, arsenic, you know, all these chemicals in the air, and they point to the groundwater and they say, oh, it's the fluoride in the water. So let them do it, because it's going to be a big economic boom to all these dentists graduating with $500,000. I think that the DMFT rate is going to skyrocket. And then when it eventually gets really, really high, guess what all those crazy people are going to say? Well, you know, they used to put fluoride in the water, but it became a conspiracy by the dentist to take it out. They took it out because
they're greedy.
Yeah, because they're greedy, evil bastards, and then they started a secret conspiracy, and they bribed all these people. So, you know, humans are crazy. They're the best part about life, and they're the worst part about life. It's just yin yang, you know. I wouldn't want to be born on an island and never see a human my whole life. You know, that would just be extremely confusing. And so they're just crazy. But I can't believe how easy it is, how fast I've been talking to you. But I want you to give a pump talk to those young girls like yourself that are 2-3 years out of school. They're $500,000 in debt. They're working at a DSO. They're not happy. The PPOs, the insurance, they're denying half their claims or reducing their fees. And they're one of the I got today on Instagram. I got 100,000 views of this girl named Dr. Tiffany's 19 Reasons I Quit Dentistry. And look at that. Look at that. 100,000 views.
Yeah.
And she quit. And everybody agrees with her. I want you to give her the real world mom talk. You're her mom. You're crushing it in Beverly Hills. You got all the accolades. Give her a pump talk of why she's in a good situation. She just doesn't know it.
I didn't read her whole entire thing because it just sort of went like a big long rant. That's piece number 1. Piece number 2 is I just turned in my final exam this morning and presented it at 6 a.m. And so I had other fish to fry. So I didn't read through the whole thing. However, what I did see that really caught my attention was that she had mentioned something about no longer feeling empathy as she did before. And that she felt like she was sort of just a nonstop worker who was never appreciated. To a large degree, I think that's pretty much everybody in any kind of services industry. My family background is in real estate and hospitality, and so I did study quite a bit of that as well. It's common to feel taken for granted, particularly given that we happen to be working on people in a very vulnerable time in their lives. What was interesting to me was I took a certificate program through Cornell's School of Hotel Management and Hospitality, and there were always dentists in the class as well. And I actually asked one of the professors, why? Why do you guys have assignments for dentists? Why is there this crossover? And the answer I got was, when people go on vacation, they're in a vulnerable time in their lives. They've looked forward to it. They've saved up for it. They've had this idea of what it's going to look like and what the experience is going to be. With dentistry, it's the same in that, and now this is like for bigger things. It's not like you go in and get like just a simple cavity filled, but to a large degree, you have somebody in a vulnerable position who who needs to trust somebody else who's kind of a stranger, who's going to be spending a decent amount of money, and knowing that to some degree, it's not going to feel great afterwards. And so with that, you take the approach of empathy from a different perspective. It's no longer a regular person you bump into at the market. This is now more of somebody's going through something very individual to themselves and their specific current situation. So that's piece number one. Piece number two is that, look, I get it with having this crazy high student loan debt. When I finished school, my monthly loan payments were $6,300 a month of after-tax money. Yeah, it's a lot of money. And back then, a typical general dentist as a 1099, we were averaging making $500 a day, which meant I was pretty much having to work every single day and not eat to be able to pay that one bill. I was able to thankfully then have it rejiggered to then be attached to my income. And so that helped out for a little while, but really it forced me to step away and look at, well, where are the real financial opportunities and where are the opportunities where I can actually do less and be more excited. And so that's how I came across implant dentistry. That's how I became, I guess, sort of a bit more of a cutter than one would typically expect. That's how I ended up going to the clear aligners and grasping onto newer technologies, that there are other opportunities when you step away and think, okay, well, if I've only got 24 hours in a day, well, Oprah Winfrey and Beyonce only have 24 hours in a day too. And look how much more they're accomplishing with those same hours. And with that, it's just, how do you use this specific amount of time in a more beneficial and efficient way? And so I thought, okay, at that point, I needed to make as much money as possible because, I was upset over the fact that I was working as hard as I was, and at the end of the day, taking home less than if I was working at a register in McDonald's. Not that there's anything wrong with working at McDonald's, but I went to a lot of school and sacrificed a lot of holidays and a lot of my youth to be able to do something that would hopefully distinguish me away from that. What made it more rewarding to me was then jumping into these other bigger margin or procedures that not everybody's doing. And so for myself, that's always kept dentistry fresh for me. And frankly, that's helped it become a lot more profitable in ways that I wouldn't have imagined. And back then I was also supplementing my income quite a bit. I was helping people write their papers. I was helping, not like homework, but when people wanted to publish anything, I was just helping out with things of that sort. Any other sorts of ancillary services I could find within dentistry that didn't necessarily mean that I had to spend all day cutting class twos. And fast forward, it took me about 12 years to pay back all my student loans, which is not bad. I have friends well into their 50s who are still paying making payments toward their loans. And I just, for myself, I wanted to say, okay, I climbed this myself, I earned it, and I'm done. And that was all just because you go in and you have got to love yourself first to find where the opportunities are, and look at it from an out of the box perspective, because the more we all do the same thing, the faster we're all going to race down to zero.
I want to point out two takeaways in case it went over the head of anybody in dental school. Number one, my dad had Sonic drive-ins. I mean, when you see someone come in about to order a foot-long chili cheese dog, tater tots, and a cherry limeade, I mean, you couldn't beat the smile off their face with a crowbar. Okay, then you walk into a dental office and they're scared and they're in pain and and it's not transparent. They don't. I understand what tater tots and a cherry limeade are. I don't know why my tooth hurts and keeps me up, and I don't know what a root canal. I don't know all this stuff like that. And so you have to have empathy that they're scared. And talk about an ungrateful job. I don't know if she's a mom or not, but wait till you raise 4 kids and have 8 grandkids. You just started the most ungrateful job. I mean, you got a 1-year-old. He doesn't give a crap about any of your problems. He don't care that you got to go to. I remember one time Eric woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning or something, and he was hungry, and he would take him in the kitchen. He wanted Cheerios. He was eating 1 Cheerio at a time, and I was looking at the clock, knowing I had a molar root canal at 7, and it was like 4:15, and I'm just like, if there's really a God, strike me with lightning right now. I mean, I can't do another 12-hour shift. And you're a healthcare provider. You got to be empathy. I mean, that's the job, but number 2, she said implants and Invisalign. I notice all the rich people, they go towards fees that aren't set by insurance company. Warren Buffett. I remember I asked Warren Buffett in undergrad. I said, well, Creighton has a medical school, a law school, and a dental school. Which 3 of those do you like? And he goes, well, I wouldn't do anything in healthcare. He goes, it's way too much capital investment, and someone else sets your fee. And when you need a lot of capital investment and someone else setting your fee, I would run. And I thought, well, damn, because I'm running to dental school. And it's true. So what did you do? What do people do when Delta says that, you pay your hygienist $50 an hour and they'll only give you $45 for a cleaning, but an implant and braces aren't covered. And that was where some lawsuits started to get nasty when they were saying that, if you're like bleaching teeth that were not, or that they wanted to set fees that weren't covered as a benefit. And that's where dentists have to get lawyers and fight back. I mean, I think one of the most obvious things that dentists could do right now is I grew up in Wichita, which was the only other place for Boeing's manufacturing other than Seattle. And it was a big part of Seattle. And my whole life, the CEO of Boeing used to be an aeronautical engineer that we would think of like Carl Mish or Craig Mish or some massive guru. And then Wall Street got involved and said, forget all that, forget Seattle, move your headquarters to Washington, D.C. That's where all the money's is. That's where all the military contracts, and get focused on the business. It only took 3 years and their planes were falling out of the sky. And some of the biggest horseshit I see in dentistry is from DSOs not owned by dentists. And why can't it just be that simple that, no, you can't be the CEO of Boeing if you're not an aeronautical engineer, you moron. Because when your plane falls out of the sky, it's not good for any of your customers. And I don't want anybody. And the other thing is, I always tell them is, you're going into a DSO. All DSOs aren't the same. But when you go into a DSO, Chick-fil-A, you only allowed 1 store. And every major religion gives you a day off. The Muslims took off Friday, the Jews took off Saturday, the Christians took off Sunday. Chick-fil-A closes down on Sunday, and their stores do $5 million a year. McDonald's do $3 million a year, but McDonald's, they only give you 1 franchise too. But look at like Burger King or Subway. They'll sell you 10, 11 franchises. And the owners haven't even been in 10 or 11 stores. And that's why when you get French fries at Burger King, you always find like a hidden onion ring or a tater tot in the bottom, because there's no quality in anything. And so the bottom line is, when you go to a DSO and you say, and the office manager says she runs 4 locations, run. But if you go to a DSO and it's the only home for every dentist, hygienist, and office manager at office, that is as close to a family as you can get. And why can't you learn all their business stuff? I mean, Rick Workman's running almost 1,500 offices. You can't learn something from a guy that's a dentist with 1,500. You just know so much that you just can't learn. I mean, it's all in your attitude. But yeah, I would gravitate towards implants and Invisalign because insurance isn't wrecking your fee. Is that a fair assessment?
That's exactly it. I mean, there's no point for me to take to be in network because I don't really do anything that they cover anyway. So why? Other than, I guess, employing additional people to go chase money for me. I don't understand. I mean, restaurants would never be able to function like this. Can you imagine? Please come eat at my restaurant and I'm going to ask somebody else to pay your food bill? No way. What are we doing?
So I want you to make my day and promise me that after all the pioneering work that Alan Hogman did with that online CEK for LANAP, when every comment was no way, there's, and now he's the one who paved the way. Now everybody knows it's true. I hope you give us an updated online CE course. I would love to have an online CE course from you or an article on the lab. I love to find super successful achievers like you who are just fearless. It's like you defy gravity. And my final question to you is the biggest conspiracy of the day is AI. You says you're using AI. Are you trying to take over the world, kill all the people, and we'll be ran by robots? What's wrong with you? Where are you using AI in dentistry?
Oh my God, I use it all over the place. I use it for designing crowns. I use it for designing smiles. I use it for, figuring out color schemes. I use it, of course, like everybody else, to write. But I actually, what I found that I really love to use it is, once in a while, have it do a deep dive on a specific topic or a specific person. Howard, the kind of stuff it comes up with, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So I use it for things of that sort. Within the practice, also, when I have, again, circling back over to, I'm not in network and I spend my cost per patient acquisition is pretty substantial. I'll for sure have it do some research on some of my patients before they come in. Because I want to know, I would love a couple little boosters on what are some topics of conversation that'll make me less scary to them. I mean, at the end of the day, going to the dentist is like top 3 biggest, most common phobias among Americans, next to, I think, public speaking and snakes. So
I know people always say that they'd rather die than public speak. That's why at every funeral I say, well, at least he's not having to publicly speak, At least he's safe in a casket. But hey, gosh, now I want 2 courses. I would love to have an AI in dentistry course for everything you just said. It's like, I desperately want to know now. And then of course, you're LANAP, LAPIP. So if you ever got time for some online CE or some articles for Dental Town, you're the bomb. And I want to thank you so much for giving me an hour of your life. Now you need to get back to that 1-year-old, and so he could take all your free time.
it would be an honor to do a CE or turn anything in and be helpful in any way I possibly can to Dental Town. Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun. I'll tell you, being interviewed by you was sort of on my professional bucket list. And so I can't believe that I finally got to check it off. Dr. Carl Misch was my closest friend and hero. And so you guys did an incredible interview together. And, I still have a bookmark. So whenever I put YouTube in, it goes straight to that one first. And so thank you for helping me accomplish this and in a teeny tiny way follow in some sort of footsteps of my hero.
And long live Carl Misch. What a guy. Well, thank you for all you do for dentistry. And it was an honor to podcast you.
Have a great day.
Thank you. I'm going to go chase my kid now.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.